Okay, picture this scenario. It's late. You've just finished a long shift, or maybe you're walking out of a grocery store with a week's worth of food. It's that time of evening. The parking lot lights are buzzing, creating these weird, sickly yellow pools of light. But there are still plenty of pitch black corners between you and your car. You've got your keys in one hand, maybe a heavy bag in the other, and you just get that prickle on the back of your neck, that primitive 2-second warning that something isn't quite right.
It's such a universal experience. It just triggers that reptilian part of your brain. And I think the default reaction for most of us, and I'm including myself here before I read this stuff, is to just, walk a little faster. Maybe you clutch your keys between your fingers like Wolverine, which, by the way, is a terrible idea. Or, and this is the big one, we pull out our phone.
Right. The phone flashlight is our safety blanket. It's this nice-to-have accessory. We think, oh, if it gets too dark, I'll just, I'll tap the screen. But today, we are going to completely flip that script. We're diving into a tactical guide from Velartech called Purse Flashlight Self-Defense. And I have to say, after spending time with this material, my view on carrying a light has shifted from, camping utility to critical survival instrument.
It really is a paradigm shift. The source material puts it bluntly. It says treating a flashlight as a utility tool, something to find a dropped earring. That's a mindset that gets people hurt.
Yeah.
The whole goal of this deep dive isn't to sell you a battery-operated tube. It's to introduce you to a concept the guide calls neurovisual dominance.
Neurovisual dominance. Okay, that sounds really intense. It's almost like something out of a cyberpunk novel. But before we get into the jargon, let's talk about the practical stakes. Why are we focusing so hard on a flashlight? I mean, why not pepper spray or a taser or a firearm? If we're talking about self-defense, don't we want stoppers?
We do, but we have to look at the 3 L's: legality, logistics, and liability. The source makes a really crucial point right out of the gate. A firearm is just not always accessible. Depending on where you are, say, a federal building, a post office, maybe a school zone, it might not be legal to have on you. Pepper spray, great tool, but it has wind restrictions. If you spray it into the wind, well, you just seasoned yourself, not the attacker.
And it's messy. It's a chemical agent.
Exactly. But a light is fast. It is legal literally everywhere on the planet. You can take it on a plane, into a courthouse, into a bar. And it's decisive. It bridges that gap between doing nothing and using lethal force.
And the guide argues it addresses the 3 things you lose instantly in a crisis.
Yes. Time, information, and control. When you're in a low-light environment and a threat appears, you are hemorrhaging those 3 things. You don't know who's there, you don't know what they're holding, and you don't have time to figure it out. A proper light acts like a tourniquet. It stops the bleeding. It gives you the ability to see what's happening before it's right on top of you.
Okay, so let's get into this neurovisual dominance idea, because when I think of a flashlight, I'm thinking of finding a keyhole. I'm not thinking of dominating an attacker. It sounds like we're over-promising what a little light bulb can do.
So to understand it, we have to look at the physiology of darkness. The guide explains that your eyes aren't magic cameras. They are biological instruments with very distinct limitations. When you go into low light, your vision physically shifts. You lose crisp detail. You lose color perception because your cones, the cells that see color, they just shut down, and your rods take over. Your eyes start relying almost entirely on motion detection and contrast.
Which explains why a shadow can look like a monster, or, and this is more dangerous, why a person standing still in dark clothing can become practically invisible.
Precisely. And this is where catastrophic decisions happen. Because your brain is a prediction machine, it fills in the gaps. You might misidentify a threat and panic, thinking a phone is a gun. Or, and this is vastly more dangerous, you might miss a weapon entirely because it just blends into the darkness. The guide's mantra is simple. You can't fight what you can't see.
So the flashlight isn't just about illumination for me, it's about disrupting that biological process in the other person.
Yes. The guide says, and I'm quoting here, you're not illuminating, you're disrupting. Think about the physics of it. If you hit someone with a high-intensity beam in a dark environment, what happens to them physiologically?
They squint, they turn away, they put their hands up. It physically hurts.
It triggers an involuntary physiological response. Their pupils constrict immediately. It bleaches the visual purple in their retina. It effectively disrupts their night vision. For that moment, their brain cannot process visual information. They are blinded. And that reaction buys you seconds. And as the source says, seconds are leverage.
It's interesting because it reframes the light as a weapon that doesn't leave a mark. But I have to play devil's advocate here because I know everyone listening is thinking it. I have a flashlight on my phone. It's in my pocket right now. It was expensive. It has a bright LED. Why can't I just use that?
The phone light fallacy. The guide anticipates this, and it attacks it pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
This is probably the most dangerous habit people have. The source breaks down exactly why relying on your phone is a tactical failure. First, just think about the mechanics. To use your phone light, walk me through what you physically have to do.
Well, I have to pull it out. If it's locked, I have to wake the screen. Face ID might fail in the dark, so then I have to type a code. Then I swipe down for the control center, find the little flashlight icon, and tap it.
And while you are doing all of that, where are your eyes?
They're only a first in.
Right. That is called attention collapse.
Mm.
In a parking lot or a transition space, which is the most dangerous place you can be, you have voluntarily put your head down. You've illuminated your own face with the screen, and you've blinded yourself to the environment to fiddle with a menu. You are prioritizing the tool over the threat.
That's disturbing when you put it that way. You're basically announcing, hey, I am distracted, unaware, and looking at glowing rectangles.
Exactly. And it gets worse.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the light itself. The LED on a phone is designed to be a floodlight for taking photos of dinner or, finding a pill on the bathroom floor. It's a wide, gentle wash of light. It has no throw. It doesn't project force. And crucially, under stress, there is no safe on-off discipline.
What do you mean by discipline in this context?
I mean, if you drop the phone, the light stays on. If you need the dark again instantly to hide your position because the threat has seen you, you have to look at the screen, fumble for the button, and tap it. A tactical light lets you control the darkness as much as the light. With a phone, if you're trying to evade someone, you're just walking around like a lighthouse saying, here I am.
Okay, the phone is out. Consider me convinced. We need a dedicated tool. But this is where it gets tricky for the average consumer, right? You go online, you search tactical flashlight, and you get thousands of results screaming about max lumens. You see these ads for like $15 flashlights claiming they are brighter than the sun and can start fires.
And you should ignore almost all of that. The source explicitly warns against the lumen wars. The output specs are often manipulated. They'll measure the lumens right at the emitter, often for just the first 30 seconds before the battery sags and the light dims.
So if lumens aren't the holy grail, what metrics should we be looking at?
The real metric for self-defense is candela.
Candela. Okay, break that down. How is that different from lumens? Because I think most people use those terms interchangeably.
So think of lumens as the total amount of light coming out of the bulb. It's the raw volume. Think of candela as how focused that light is. Candela drives intensity at a distance. It's what the guide calls the punch.
I like the analogy of water. Lumens is like a bucket of water. It gets everything wet, but it doesn't really hurt. Candela is a fire hose.
That's the perfect analogy. And for self-defense, you need that fire hose. You need a hot spot of light that can reach out across a parking lot and blind someone or identify them from a safe distance. If you have a high lumen light with low candela, it just floods the area right in front of your feet.
Which could actually be bad, right? If I blast a white wall 3 feet in front of me with a floodlight.
You blind yourself. It's called photonic feedback. You just wash out your own vision while the threat 40 feet away is still in the shadows. You want a light that punches through the dark, not one that just makes the immediate area bright. You want to reach out and touch someone with that light.
Okay, so we want high candela. What else is non-negotiable? The guide seemed pretty strict about the switch mechanism.
The switch is mandatory. The light must have instant momentary activation.
Meaning it's only on when I'm actually pressing the button.
Correct. You press for light, you release for dark.
Why is that so critical? My instinct would be to just click it on so I don't have to hold it. That seems easier.
That instinct is wrong for a threat scenario. If you click it on and leave it on, you become a target. You are tracking your own movement for the bad guy. You want to be able to send a burst of light to check an area and then instantly be back in the dark so you can move. If you have to click a switch all the way in to turn it off, that split second of fumbling could be dangerous.
It prevents you from backlighting yourself.
And it ties into the final hardware requirement. Simplicity. The source uses a great phrase here. It says the light must run like a seatbelt.
Simple, repeatable, automatic.
Under stress, when your heart rate hits 140, your hands are shaking, your auditory exclusion kicks in, your fine motor skills just evaporate. You can't be expected to navigate a complex menu. You shouldn't have to twist the bezel to mode 3 or tap the button 5 times to get to turbo. You need to grab it, press it, and have it work. If it requires complex manipulation, it's not a defensive tool, it's a puzzle.
And nobody wants to be solving a Rubik's Cube in a dark alley. So we've got the right tool. High candela, momentary switch, simple operation. Now let's get to the how-to. The guide outlines a 4-step tactical sequence. Detect, identify, disrupt, disengage.
And this sequence is the core of the methodology. It's an ODA, loop, observe, orient, decide, act, but simplified for lighting.
Let's walk through these. So step 1, detect. This implies seeing them before they see you.
Detect starts before you even see a person. This is about using light to kill surprises. The advice is to use short bursts of light while you are moving.
So you're not walking around with the light on constantly like a coal miner.
Right. Blink the light into deep shadows. Check behind the pillar. Check the gap between the vans. Don't walk through darkness pretending it's fine. The source has a really memorable line here. Darkness is where unknown hands win. If you verify the space is clear with light, you take away that advantage.
Okay, so say we detect someone. Step 2 is identify. And this is where I had the biggest aha moment reading the source. Because my instinct, and I'm assuming everyone's instinct, is to shine the light in their face to see who it is. I want to see if it's my neighbor Bob or a stranger.
And that is a really common mistake.
Yeah.
The guide corrects this specific misconception. The goal isn't necessarily to find a face. You are looking for capability and intent.
So what are we looking at?
Hands and waistline.
The waistline. Why the waistline?
Because the face doesn't hurt you. The hands do. And the waistline is where tools that hurt you are usually stored. You need to know, are they holding a weapon? Is something tucked into their waistband? And you need to look at their posture. Are they mirroring your movement? Are they closing the distance aggressively?
That makes so much sense. You're looking for the threat indicators, not trying to do a sketch artist portrait.
Exactly. If you focus on the face, you might miss the knife in the hand down by their thigh, or you might start a verbal altercation when you should be running.
So once you've established that there might be a threat, someone is closing in, or they have something in their hand, you move to step 3, disrupt. The wall of light.
Yes, this is where that candela, that punch, really comes into play. If someone is closing the distance and you need them to stop, you put that high-intensity beam right in their eyes.
And as we discussed, this isn't just annoying them, it's physiological.
It breaks their approach momentum. It forces them to hesitate. It's a non-lethal dominance tool. You aren't touching them. You aren't shooting them. You are simply putting a wall of photonic energy between you and them. They can't see you, they can't gauge the distance to you, and they can't see your hands. It forces a reset of their ODA loop.
Which leads right to step 4, disengage.
And this is the most important part. The host emphasizes that the goal is not to win a fight. You aren't a gladiator. You are a person trying to get home. The light buys you time. Movement uses that time.
So you blast them with light, they hesitate, and you are gone.
You're finding barriers. You're putting a car between you and them. You're finding an exit. You're creating separation so you can call for help. The objective is safety, not victory in a duel.
I love that distinction. Now, I want to pivot to some myths the source busts, because I feel like Hollywood has lied to us, specifically about strobe mode. You see these tactical lights that have a strobe feature that flashes really fast. It looks cool, like a rave in your pocket. And the marketing says it confuses the attacker.
The strobe myth. The source is very, very critical of this. It effectively calls strobe a gadget rather than a tool.
Why? I mean, it seems incredibly disorienting.
It is disorienting, but here's the catch.
Yeah.
It's disorienting to you too. It creates what's called the stroboscopic effect. It breaks visual movement into these choppy frames.
Like watching someone dance under a strobe light. You see them here, then suddenly they're 3 feet closer.
Exactly. And while that's fun at a club, in a fight, it's a disaster. Because if you are strobing a light at someone running towards you, you might miss a subtle movement. You might miss them reaching into a pocket. You are sacrificing visual information for a gimmick.
So a solid, continuous beam gives you more information.
Much more. Continuous high-intensity light provides better identification and better control. It lets you track their movement smoothly. If you rely on strobe as your plan, the source says your plan is a gadget.
Brutal, but fair. Now let's talk about the purse reality. This guide is specifically titled for Purse Flashlight Self-Defense, and anyone who carries a purse knows it can be a black hole.
This is a major friction point. The source says if your flashlight is buried under receipts, makeup, old gum wrappers, and a water bottle, you don't have a flashlight, you have a future regret.
Ouch. I felt that one personally. I think I have receipts from 2019 in my bag.
It's the harsh truth. If you need a light, you usually need it in about 2 seconds. If you have to spend 20 seconds digging for it, the situation is already over.
So what's the solution? Just throw it in a side pocket.
Staging. The light needs a dedicated home, an internal pocket, or a specific pouch. And crucially, it must be oriented the same way every time. You shouldn't have to look to know which end is the bulb and which end is the switch.
Consistency is key.
Absolutely. And this is where the clip on the flashlight becomes essential. It's not just for holding it in a pants pocket, it's for anchoring it inside a bag so it doesn't float around.
The guide also suggests a behavioral habit that I've actually started trying. Hand on light when walking to the car.
It might sound paranoid to some, but the source calls it professionalism.
Ugh.
If you're in a transition space, a parking lot, a garage, having your hand already gripping the light inside your purse or pocket, it cuts your reaction time drastically. You are pre-staged for safety. You aren't waiting for something to happen to start getting ready.
It's proactive rather than reactive, and nobody knows you're doing it. You just look like someone with their hand in their pocket. It's non-threatening.
Precisely. It's low profile, high readiness.
There's also a legal angle here that I found really interesting. We touched on it briefly, but the idea that a flashlight helps you legally before force is used.
This is huge, and it's often overlooked. In self-defense law, reasonableness is everything. Did you act reasonably given the threat? By using a light, you are demonstrating that you tried to identify the threat first. You tried to deter them without escalating immediately to lethal force.
It shows you weren't just looking for a fight.
Right. Imagine the court case. I shone my light to see if he was armed. He kept coming, so I escalated. That is a very different narrative than I got scared and I started swinging. It allows you to avoid misidentification, which is a legal nightmare. And it allows you to deter a threat without ever touching them. If you can stop a situation with photons instead of bullets or fists, that is the best possible legal and physical outcome.
It gives you options between do nothing and use deadly force, because usually that gap is just empty for people. They either freeze or they panic.
And having options keeps you out of prison and out of the hospital.
So we've covered the biology, the hardware, the tactics, and the carry method, but the source ends with a bit of a reality check.
The uncomfortable truth. Tools don't replace training. Buying the flashlight is the easy part. Amazon can send you a light tomorrow, but Amazon cannot send you the ability to use it under stress.
You have to practice.
You have to get the reps in.
Yeah.
You need to know how to hold the light so you don't drop it. You need to know how to avoid blinding yourself off a car window. You need to practice that detect, identify, disrupt sequence until it's just muscle memory.
Because when the adrenaline hits, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll sink to the level of your training.
That is the oldest truth in self-defense. The source explicitly recommends structured training, specifically low visibility training that pressure tests these skills. Because reading about it or, listening to us talk about it is not the same as doing it. You need to simulate that stress.
So what does this all mean for the listener right now? It means the little light on your phone isn't going to cut it. It means we need to respect the dark a little more and prepare for it a little better.
It means shifting your mindset. You aren't carrying a light to find lost keys. You are carrying a light to assert control over your environment. It's about being proactive about your own safety and realizing that vision is your primary survival sense. Don't compromise it.
And that brings us to our final thought. The source challenges us with a very practical test, and I want everyone listening to try this right now, safely, of course.
It's a simple question with very high stakes. In a high-stress moment, your safety depends on this tool. Can you find yours with your eyes closed right now?
If you have to look, or if you have to dig, or if you have to think about where you left it,
Then you don't have a defensive tool. You have a gadget.
move it, stage it, practice it, stay safe, and stay illuminated. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Stay safe.